In this video, I'm going to show you how to become an AI superstar at work by creating HTMLs, which are hyper powerful tools that allow you to create things that can make invoices through PDFs. You can drag and drop Excel documents and workbooks in there, or create animated timelines like the one I'm going to show you. Hope you all enjoy. Thank you. Okay, so we are going to go over a couple ways to look like an absolute rock star at work with AI. And it starts by working in either Claude Code or Codex or whatever the Gemini equivalent is. I think if you have anti-gravity, that might work. But essentially, we're going to cover HTML today and how they are super powerful and super simple and super quick to get started. So what an HTML is hypertext markup language. And essentially, it's what you interact with when you're on like any kind of browser or anything. And they are very powerful and very flexible in what you can do with them. You can either make a visual, like I have this whole timeline I'll show you all in a second. You can make an application that can generate invoices. You can make a dashboard that can slice and dice data really well and really easily. And we'll cover that really quickly. But as a very quick example, I've been working on this visual for one of my next videos, kind of going over the timeline of AI and how things have progressed and how these models have gotten so strong for cheaper and cheaper. Like the cost per task is going down monumentally. And I was working with my Claude Code and Fable last night about how to visualize that and the best way to show it. And I think a timeline is a good way to do it. So here's an example of what an HTML can do. You can make an animated timeline that shows anything you really want it to, as long as you have the data that you want to display. And it's kind of a slow moving timeline, but I think it's pretty cool. It's not perfect. Like you can see that on that last one, the dates are pretty close with the text. I'm still working out some of the kinks with that. It's pretty easy to build and pretty quick as well. And for those of you who are tracking this, we do have Fable until at least June 12th on the subscription plans for Anthropic. So what I was doing with my HTML here is I was having Fable 5 architect a pretty cool plan and hand it off to Sonnet 5 to execute, and that saved a lot of my Fable credits. So that worked really well for this example. Okay, but there are a lot of cool things we can do with HTMLs. You can think of an HTML as kind of like a flat file that can do a lot of things. There's some limitations to it, like you wouldn't want your entire business running off an HTML. Obviously, there's a lot of limitations, but it can do some cool stuff like generating invoices, making dashboards, making drag and drop interfaces, and the timeline here is a good example of something you can do. So I was playing around with my Claude Code and my terminal earlier, and I was talking to it. I wanted to make an invoice generating HTML, and it was really easy. I can show you the entire conversation right here. So this is just Claude Code running in the terminal. People haven't used that before. I switched it to Sonnet 5, which is their new economy class. So I did /model and hit enter and click down to Sonnet 5. So I don't want to burn too many credits for Opus or Fable on this one. And HTML is pretty easy to do, so Sonnet 5 can't handle that. So it's /model, Sonnet 5. And I was like, can you generate an example HTML invoice generator? I want an HTML that can make a PDF invoice based on a few customer inputs. This is for a YouTube video. So it asked me a couple questions, nothing insane. It was like, just preference stuff, nothing crazy. So it wrote this HTML here. This is like the actual code it wrote. Keep scrolling down. And I don't know why it showed that question again. That's fine, we're gonna keep going down. Yeah, the test PDF that it generated. So I will show you all this HTML that it actually created. So it should be right here. And essentially, the HTML serves as like a little self-hosted application, not self-hosted, just a self-contained application. And let's see it works. So business name, we'll do example. We'll just leave that address. I don't really feel like editing this stuff, but we'll do anyways. Example business. Yeah, wherever. Invoice, we'll just change it a little bit so we can show you all that it actually is working. Line items, website design. Yeah, you can edit all this stuff. Let's see if we delete that. Yep, that deletes as well. Tax rate, we'll jump that up to 20%. And it did actually flow through there in the example here. Yeah, let's see how this works. So the stuff you'd fill in is on the left here. And then let's hit download PDF. Should generate. It's downloading right here. You can kind of see it. We'll click on it. And boom. Okay. It created the PDF. It is that easy to make an application with HTML to do something simple like generate like an invoice, or like if you want to do a drag and drop Excel, like, hey, I want you to sort this Excel sheet I want you to sort this Excel sheet and pull out relevant data. Like we can actually do that as well. So I will open up my Claude Code again. We're gonna do this one quickly. They also changed the layout of Claude since my last video. So it used to be chat, co-work, and code. Now it's just home and code. And it's just Anthropic doing that without telling anyone. But okay, let's go back to code, hit new session. We're gonna jump to Sonnet 5. So if you're in the desktop app and if you click on code here in the top left and you come to the desktop app, let's close that. We're going to go to the model selector. I'm going to do Sonnet 5 because it should be able to handle this. Okay, I want to I want to create an HTML that chops up a pre-existing Excel file with data on the S&P 500 companies and their relative REL8 relative performance over the last day and week. I want this HTML to have a drag and drop section where I can drop future versions of this Excel file. And I'm going to turn up the reasoning on this just a little bit. While Sonnet 5 is a good model, if you're on the medium thinking, it might struggle a bit, but it should be able to handle this. So let's minimize this window a little bit. I also want to give it the Excel file so it knows like what it's looking at. So here's the Excel file I want it to use. I'm going to drag and drop that in there just so it knows. I have attached the Excel file for you to look at and understand how it is laid out. Make the dashboard filterable and able to display data easily. It should be a pretty easy ask for it. Just double checking the file to see what's going on with that. Yeah, just regular Excel. There's nothing crazy there going on. I think my Microsoft account might have plan expired. We'll see. So it will inspect the Excel file structure before it starts building, but this really shouldn't be very hard for it. The cool thing about HTMLs too, once you build it, I'll show you all this after we're done with this example here, but if you open up your, like, wherever you want to save things, whether it's your desktop or your video, or not your videos, your desktop or your downloads or wherever, if an HTML is saved in there, you can just copy and paste it into an email then. Okay, it wants to ask me some questions. Yep, OneDrive desktop, that's fine. I can save it there. But here's the S&P 500 dashboard from a previous video that we made. And I double clicked on it, it opens really easily. But what I want to show you is if I go and then right click, copy, you don't want to copy as path. Copy as path will cause a lot of issues and you won't actually send the file. So let me open up my Chrome, and if I open up Gmail, see if I'm signed in. Yep, I am. So I can click on compose to example, whatever, it's fine. Subject, example, HTML. And since I copied that previously, if I just go Control V, the HTML goes straight as an attachment. And then whoever I send this to can just double click on it. The dashboard will open for them. Actually, it'll download and then open for them once it'll click on it. So these things are super easy to share and super powerful. So I'll close that and see how Claude's doing. It will build it so we can drag and drop the Excel document, which is like the source data. I know a lot of companies, a lot of people work off Excel. It might be a 10-year-old Excel file at this point that's like older than most people at the company. And we can make these tools. We don't have to disrupt or completely break the way of doing things, but we can make them so we can automate parts of it, make it easier to understand, easier to digest, easier to share, things like that. That's what HTMLs are wonderful for. HTMLs are cool. You can essentially make slide decks out of them. You can animate videos with like little motions and stuff. Like the one I made earlier with the timeline, I think is really cool. Let's see. Yeah, the model visualization. I think this one's really cool because it has like a little camera zoom. Let's open the HTML. It has a little camera zoom effect, which I wouldn't be able to do myself. I don't know how to edit software or edit like videos that well, but you can tell the HTML to do it just by, or you can tell Claude to have the HTML do it, which is just really cool. And I touched on this in some of my earlier videos. Oh, it opened the timeline. Cool. I'll get back to that in a second. Yeah, I just think it's so cool that I can actually do those effects. Little camera zoom and stuff, and you can edit this however you want it to be. I can change the colors here, which I will change the colors for the next video. So next time you all see this, it won't look like this orange and black Anthropic generic thing. Okay, that's fine. But yeah, what I was going to cover is the different models, and I covered this in a few other videos, but I doubt everyone's watched those videos yet. So Anthropic has a few classes of models. We'll start at the biggest and work our way down. And what I mean by biggest is the amount of parameters the model has, and basically think of a parameter as like a little knob that these companies can use to fine tune their models. So the more parameters, whether it's like a couple billion, however many, they can use to fine tune their models to have better performance. So Fable and Mythos are the biggest models Anthropic has, and they have the most parameters. It's billions and billions of parameters. They're the most expensive because those parameters, there's like a whole AI ecosystem to running these models, but essentially, like the more parameters you have, the more power and compute it takes, and a whole bunch of other things to run them. So Fable 5 and Mythos are the smartest models Anthropic has, the biggest, most expensive. The next step down is the Opus class models, which Opus 4.8 is the most recent. I'd love Opus 5 soon. Very capable, very powerful, not as powerful and smart as Fable or Mythos, but still very good. And then Sonnet 5 was the most recent model released by Anthropic. It's kind of the not budget, but like the mid-tier model where it's good at a lot of stuff, but hardcore coding it's not the best at. Like it'll get tripped up doing stuff, and this one might get tripped up too. We'll see. Haiku is the cheapest, smallest, quickest, and dumbest of the models. It has the fewest parameters, so it is just not the smartest. And then OpenAI is going to be releasing some models today. It is July 9th, and they are releasing them in a way that's going to compete with the model structure that Anthropic has. So previously, OpenAI would just release like GPT-5.2, GPT-5.3, 5.4, and you're like, okay, what are the differences? I don't really know. And what they're going to do now is they're going to release like 3 models per, I think, incremental increase. And what I mean by that is like right now it's GPT 5.5. Today they're going to release GPT 5.6. What I expect to happen is they're going to release these 3-tier models for each of their new releases going forward. So they're releasing 3 models today. It's Sol, Terra, and Luna. And one of my friends said it sounds like Pokemon games, and it really is. It's like Sol means sun, Terra is earth, and Luna is moon. And think of that as the size of those 3 objects. So Sol, the sun, is the biggest. That's going to be, they're trying to compete with Opus or Fable class models. Terra is the earth, which is the middle of those 3 object sizes. That's going to be expected to compete with Sonnet. And then Luna is supposed to compete with Haiku. It's the moon, the smallest of those 3. So yeah, when I say smallest, again, smallest or largest, it's the amount of parameters those models have in them. And it's going to be really interesting to see how good those models are. OpenAI kind of found religion again is focusing on like coding tools and trying to compete with Anthropic because Anthropic passed them in valuation. Like Anthropic's the more valuable company now. So OpenAI is trying to get their stuff together and then compete with Anthropic on what Anthropic has proved to work. The price points of those OpenAI models are going to be very, very similar to Opus, Sonnet, and Haiku. So that Sol class, I think, is almost, I think it might be identical, like token per token on the Opus cost. The Terra costs are going to be very similar to Sonnet. And then the Luna ones, I think, are exactly the same as Haiku. They don't have a Fable equivalent yet. We'll see what they release in the future, but this is going to be very interesting today. Anthropic definitely felt some pressure. Anthropic was going to cut off access to Fable on July 5th. And then I think OpenAI started breathing down their neck a bit with their new release coming out, which caused Anthropic to extend access to Fable 5 for subscription plan people like me. So this is going to be really interesting. Okay, so Claude was getting a little stuck there trying to do like its own testing on this tool. I didn't really want it to do that, so I just told it to open it up and skipped forward a bit. So let's take our existing Excel document here, the one I showed you guys earlier. I'm going to drag and drop it into the HTML that I created and see what it does. Okay, so that worked. Wow, that worked really quickly. That's cool. But yeah, it showed the dashboard that we made earlier and updated with the data from the Excel file. That is so cool. And we'll do this end to end here. So the last time an Excel file was updated was a couple days ago. So what I'll do, I'll run the update SP500 data Python file that we made in a couple videos ago. That'll run. You'll see it updating the data right here. We'll refresh the HTML and drop that new data in there to see if it actually works. Took it a bit longer than normal to get running, but it will refresh that data and then open the HTML. Okay, saved workbook. Let me close that one because that's cheating. And then okay, so this is the HTML that we opened originally. We're going to do load different file. I'm going to go to my desktop and grab that updated Excel doc. Yep, here it is. And click open. And the data should change. I think it did. Yeah, I believe it did. Palantir 13%, my God. Okay. But yeah, pretty easy ways to use HTMLs. You can do drag and drop. You can have it generate documents for whether that's a PDF, invoice, things like that. You can have it make a video for you. You can do a whole lot of things. You can have it make a slide deck for you instead of using PowerPoint. You can interact with the slide deck then. It's very, very powerful and it's very quick and easy to make. Sonnet 5 can't handle that. You don't need Opus to write in HTML, and it's also very easy to share via email. So HTMLs are super powerful. I hope you use them at work. It's an easy way to get brownie points because people don't know what they're doing with them yet. And these are very, very powerful tools. So thank you for watching. If you enjoyed that, please share. Thank you.